Welcome to ISRA League's Grand Touring Championship, brought to you by the Z1 SimWheel LCD display software. You can go to z1simwheel.com and get the software to add all of these dashboards and telemetry displays to your sim rig. In addition, you can get the LCD display hardware and a fine selection of handcrafted wheels at z1simwheel.com. Well, this is race 5, and we come into this race with Brian Carey leading in HPDs over his teammate Andy Fuller by just 1 point. Jeremy Burse and Diljan Boldrin are tied in 3rd, Arthur Hermont's 5th, Daniel Corney 6th, Ryan Huff 7th, Victor Beltran 8th, Anthony Munoz 9th, and Wyatt Foster 10th. Then over in GT3, Daniel Burness is leading a handle with 74 points, Daniel Gralty into 2nd, 15 points down. Warren Bateman is 3rd, Timothy Stahl is not too far behind him in 4th, and John Guzan on his tail with 5th. Mike Young and John Middleton are tied for 6th, Marty Jeffries is in 8th, and Matthew Voigt's in 9th, Luke Poon finally rounding out the 10th spot in the standings. Well, welcome, as I said, race 5 here, taking place at Silverstone. This is an Enduro, which means an hour-and-a-half race, and to help me talk our way through it is Anthony Muniz.
Hey, everyone.
And Brian Carey.
I am the smartest man alive.
Well, Smarty, take us to the map.
All right, we got the Silverstone here. This is the, we're going to run the historic configuration. So what that means here is for you, the track that you see right now, but turn 8 and Vale, we don't use turn 8 and Vale. We cut across that little gray bit there, a faster run through, really fast chicanes, really makes Club a very challenging corner. And then turn 11 Abbey, we don't run that chicane there, we run that gray bit on the inside that the F1 cars used to use, and flat out through there, I believe, in all cars. So it's going to make it a much faster race. It changes the downforce equation a lot, so fast is now in play as well as medium.
All right, well, in the HPDs, we got Diljan Boldrin on pole with a 125.723. Andy Fuller is on the first row next to him. Then Brian Carey and Jeremy Burse on the 2nd. Ryan Huff and Daniel Corney on the 3rd. Brent Bryles and Sam Dignan on the 3rd. And it looks like GT3 qualifying didn't show up, but it looks like we got Daniel Burness on pole with Javier Torres on the front row with him. Marty Jeffries and Mike Young behind them. Lauren Bateman and Chuck Chambliss behind them. John Kusel and Sean Cuthbertson on the, 4th row or 5th row? And then Todd Carver and Stephen Clark, they are on the 5th row.
Yeah, it's a little backstory to my smartest man alive comment. We've decided to go with a new format for our broadcasting here because I upgraded my computer and our old one didn't work. And then in an effort to load up this race the way we normally do, I decided to load up the old one, which suddenly worked. But we're not using the old one anymore, we're using the new one.
Upgrade is a relative term.
I have side graded. I have hit a button and it went 1 point number up from my previous operating system, which hopefully, beyond all hope, will someday fall into the obsolete world bin, things like AOL and...
Well, now, we had a shot just a moment ago of Andy Fuller. We'll probably get another good shot of him right before the green flag. But
do you mean Andy Fuller, or do you mean Batman?
Is that Andy?
I think it's Adam West, actually.
Well, Adam West could be. But anyway, we shot this, or we raced this right around Halloween. So Andy did the job and got his car in costume. So he's going as the Batmobile this race. As we see the racers are taking off and they cross the green, the start finish to start the clock there. And we have a pretty clean start. Diljan Boldrin. Yeah. Diljan Boldrin got a good lead off of Andy Fuller, who was probably too busy doing the Batusi to pay attention to the flag.
I have a... maybe I can fall into my Adam West impersonation later if it comes in there. But we got back to where Lance Snyder, who's just up ahead of Victor Beltran. Lance Snyder back to for this race here. We have the Ed Force 1 scheme in his car. I don't know if that was just the way the graphics work there, but it's good to see that back on the broadcast. Victor Beltran, and currently in P11, and now Ryan Huff chasing down Jeremy Burris. See, a lot faster through there. That was the Vale Club complex. So Vale's not a chicane anymore, it's just a fast chicane. Not a tight chicane, it's fast chicane, and these guys are going through at a much higher rate of speed, and Daniel Coroni is in the mix there as well. Coming around the outside of Ryan Huff down through Bridge, which is that is a fast corner, a lot of fast corners here.
Back in the second spot here, Daniel Verness is chasing current leader in GT3, Todd Carver, and they're going to follow right through where we just saw the HPDs come around, and braking for that rather nasty left-hander.
Yep, that was, the Priory corners, and then into the left field, which is a tight right-hander coming into Woodcote in the final straight. One thing about with Silverstone here is they have really kind of meaty corner names, like they actually refer to something, not just, holy crap, that's Ryan Huff coming from, I don't know, he was having a burger, some bangers and mash over there in the corner there, just off of the Beckett's complex.
Well, I was behind him when he did this, so you can see that Todd Carver there is off in the green. Ryan Huff had gone off there, and often when you accelerate and you're in that green stuff, it sends you right off to the right, and that's what happened to him. I'm just glad he didn't hit the wall. I thought the way he shot off for sure he would, but he didn't. He's still in the race, just a couple spots down.
Yeah, Dan had, when he gone through the GT leaderboard there, the qualifying, I don't think he was giving them the correct order, the way they're showing on telemetry, until they've actually completed a lap. Todd Carver did not gain 10 spots in the first lap. I believe he was running up front with Verness to begin with, so...
Yeah, probably.
I mean, that'd be awesome. We haven't seen a lot of Todd Carver since 2 seasons ago when he ran the Corvette, and... what was it, last season? Oh, it was last season.
Yep.
Man, it seems like so long ago that we saw him for... I think for a broadcast record, I believe it was 3.2 hours of a 1 hour race we saw him on the race. Well, yeah, there is go. That's the Abbey section there. You can see on the right hand side there is a chicane, so those GT cars are flying through there much faster. Now we're into Priory, which is a tough left-hander, but a pretty tight one. Then the next 2 corners. This is the second Priory. I think it's Priory. I can't remember the name of the corner, but right here with John Kuzlin and... is it Brooklands? Okay, yeah. Yep. So Priory, Lynn, Brooklands. This is Brooklands here. Then the next right-hander is going to be Luffield, which used to be back in the day, used to be a pretty nice double apex right-hander. They've kind of evened it out a little bit, so it's just really, really long, terrible hairpin. But other than those couple corners, yeah. Other than those couple corners, they're just tracking massively fast.
Looking at a battle here between Javier Torres and Lauren Bateman battling for that last of the top 5 spots. Oh, and Torres a little slow there as they were making their way into Maggots and Beckett's. I wonder if he was off in that green stuff that Dan pointed off earlier at the exit of turn 1 can be quite slippy.
Yeah, and I like how, I mean, it's there in real life too. Basically what they'll have is, it's green and it looks like it's grass. Kind of for just aesthetic purposes, but basically what that is, it's kind of a flat area on the underside of the curb on the exits there. So the curb is, not raised. Oh no, that's Mike Young doing the slowest spin in the history of the world, but he's able to continue because he only his degrees of rotation there was about 1 per second. Just took forever, but he's back. He lost a few places, but he's all right. I guess what I'm saying is the curb on the other end, it drops off, and that green bit is what's on the bottom end there. So you don't have grass. Looks like grass, painted that way, but you can see right there.
Lance Snyder touching the grass on entry and on exit there, and keeping it together both times.
Actually, the key there for Lance Snyder in front of Brian Huff, who made the mistake earlier, is to put all 4 wheels onto it. Because if you have 2 wheels on it, which has a level of grip, and then off of it, which has another level of grip, it can rotate the car in that direction. So that's what happened to Ryan earlier. Lance went all the way over, able to hold on to it, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to that position for much longer as Ryan Huff is coming through.
Kicked it back out a little bit, braking late for that corner, but he did it. And here we've got Verness back right on the tail of Todd Carver.
And that's where Daniel's trying to see if Todd's a boy or a girl by looking under his...
Verness trying to do the Ryan Huff. You can see in that shot there was lots of escape space to the right, so that's how Ryan was able to survive, but I've certainly planted it in the wall plenty of times by doing that.
Yeah, like Brian said, if it's gonna happen, it's Sam Digman there. Little slippy coming out. Brooklands loses a spot there to Brent Briles. But yeah, as Brian said, if you get on that green bit of curb, I guess is what it is, you have to really go all for it, otherwise you risk spinning and going into the wall on the left-hand side or even on the right-hand side. And as Digman tries to make his way back through turn 1, takes a look on the inside, but doesn't quite have the momentum that Briles has, and Briles stays ahead.
Dignan running the Honda badge there quite properly, as it is a Honda car.
It's actually an Acura, which is technically Honda.
It's a Honda.
Honda Performance Development, that's where the HPD comes from, so...
Yep.
The NSX is a Honda everywhere else in the world except in the US. Actually, I think the US, at least for many years, was the only place Acura existed.
It's all branding. It's like how Pontiac is Chevrolet, is Opel, is Saturn. It's...
Sorry, who?
Yeah, Saturn. What?
Well,
And
also Pontiac.
Yeah, Pontiac. Oh, Pontiac was a classic car, and that was... parents had one of those back in the day, and it was kind of sad to see that go.
Oh, probably better than the, what did they keep instead? Buick.
Oh, yeah, it's still... Yeah, no kidding. It was back in the economic downturn when the auto companies were... John Kelly running wide there. When the auto companies were losing a lot of money and being called in front of Congress and being basically bitch slapped because some of them took airplanes because, when you're, have a large company run that's in trouble, I mean, you might as well waste time driving 2 days down to Washington to explain yourself to a bunch of congressmen. But anyways, I digress. But the point is, in the Roy organization, John Kelly coming back at Ryan Huff there, but I think Ryan's good at Uno. I'll finish this story eventually. But they looked at General Motors and be like, so you make like 3 different cars, but you have about 18 different brands. Is that the best use of your money? It's like, they wanted to market them differently. It's like, okay, well, and how much do you spend on marketing for all these cars? It's like $18.2 billion. How much does it cost to make them? I don't know, a little less than that. So like, I've got an idea. And so we lost some iconic brands, but at the same time, you still get the same, I'm not going to call them crappy cars because they actually haven't improved a lot, but a lot of those things were throwaway cars.
I think it would have been okay if they'd taken like a normal airplane, public airplane, that anyone can buy a ticket to. They didn't have to drive to Washington, in other words. Oh, wow, that was close.
And Verness, it looks like he's going to have the run coming around the outside here. This is the lead in the GT class. So it's going to be Daniel Verness taking the lead there, and I guess we've moved on from that.
He passed. All right, let's move on. Back to Ryan Huff. He's trying to fight his way back through the HPD field, currently in 11th. Ooh, it looks like he's going to dive up on the inside of Tim McLeish there. Ooh, that's Brent Riles off. Makes 2 passes there in the field.
Look at this. Oh, okay, we're in the GTs now. This is what's going on.
Yeah. Because
of the high speed of this track, I meant to touch on this earlier, I kind of forgot. You don't get this. Okay, look at Canada. Canada was hard because it's a lot of straights and chicanes, and we thought it was going to be hard for multi-class. It turns out it wasn't as hard for multi-class because the parts where you're fast in, the straightaways, the HPD could go by, and the corners, the HPDs were still faster than the chicanes, but that being said, the amount of traction the Fords had didn't lose a whole ton of time there. Look at the speed that these HPDs are physically slower as they have to cut through the Beckett's complex behind one of those McLarens, and just point of fact, those McLarens cannot go anywhere near the speed as the HPDs, and it becomes a real bottleneck when you're racing, close racing in either one of the classes, and there will be some incidents. There will be incidents, but those guys seem to get through all right.
Well, Brian promising blood already. I guess we've gotten through 10 minutes without any so far, so that's good.
Yes, I am predicting a bloodbath.
Chambliss on Koosland. It doesn't look like he's going to have it, but he's going to look for it on the inside. Oh, I'm not talking about he's got it. Oh, no problem.
There's that streaky paint on the side of his car gave him extra speed.
And Ryan Huff still looking to make his way through the field, going to go around the outside of Lance Snyder through left field, and I think he will have it, but Snyder is... No, that was left field. They were making their way through Woodcote there. And yeah, does eventually make the position. Going to dive up on the inside of Marty Jeffries there in the McLaren. Someone's off. I think that's John Kelly. Yep, looks like he was off in the green curb.
Alternate line,
turn
we'll
1.
call it.
Yeah.
Now, aside from the fact that Ryan Huff has been off the track a little bit, it looks like he's having a bit of fun. He's probably cursing a little bit at the same time, but he's been making moves, whether forward or backwards. He's been making them, so he's been good for us so far.
Definitely seems like he's quite a bit faster than these guys. He's making his way through right now because you can see that he'll, through some of these corners, he'll pull right up onto the back of some of these HPDs and have to put on the brakes to avoid hitting them. So he definitely is faster. Lance Steiner, I think, actually manages to make a pass, though. They're in traffic. That was Javier Torres and the Ford GT. They were making their way past.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he did that. He was at the disadvantaged spot behind the GT traffic, but still managed to pull it off.
Maybe Ryan had a little bit of an off there to do it. Oh, here it comes. Yeah, this is fantastic. Okay, bridge there and HB is just
that was close. Yeah,
death for
Lance
everyone.
didn't see that, who was that? Warren Bateman was up there, and so he didn't expect that there would be that much of a speed difference to John Kelly. I had to pull evasive maneuvers, and let's just look at his time. So far, it looks like he's still on the track based on the time and scoring.
Yeah, that's why I like to stick with the onboards here for some of this stuff, because I don't think... and I'd like to point out, too, because there's some discussion after for this race here. I'm not going to say after this race, because it's still going on, but for this race about the behavior of some HPD drivers compared to the GT drivers, and most tracks are good at, and it's not like we suddenly decided to get really ridiculous. It's just, it was really hard to track. I mean, you're coming with such speed, and you enter a corner, and there's other cars in front of you, and they're racing, you're racing, and the track is twisting, and you have like 0.01 of a second to make a decision, and 90% of the time you make the right decision, but you just that other percent of the time you make the wrong decision quickly. It's really kind of hard to back out of it. Some other tracks, like these, the slower corners and longer straightaways and not as much switchbacks, you can kind of back out of a bad decision. Here, not good as easy.
Yeah,
Brian. Oh,
go ahead, Dan. I was just going to point out with this configuration we're running, because it is so much faster, especially in the HPDs. It kind of gets away a couple of those slower passing zones that you see when the slow chicanes are in there. So it does create a different situation than the GT drivers might be used to, because I don't think this is used all that much in the public servers, as Mike Young makes his way past Javier Torres, or at least attempts to, as he makes their way through Abbey down to Bridge, and does finish it off on the outside as he goes through and completes the pass under Bridge. That moves him back up into 4th position, so he's having a nice job recovering after that, we'll call it a drift through Stowe or wherever it was.
Okay, right now he's running in 4th. Yeah, so Brian, if you've got a 90% good call rate there, then you're really taking out one of the GT cars out of that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you are. There's a lot more. We call them questionable passes or questionable attempts, but in all reality, a lot of it was just trying not to die.
Check out that mirror. Shoot, really pulled away.
Good shot. But yeah, because you're coming through here, so you're looking up ahead. Okay, you're behind someone. You're behind an HPD. Very good speed. There's a couple of HPDs up ahead. If 2 corners ahead, there's 2 GTs battling. You're going to see them up ahead, and you're going to try to plan out your pass as best you can, but there's so many variables. Those 2 GTs, if one's GT, you can kind of figure out where they're going to be. No problem. 2 GTs, little variable in where they're going to be, and you're coming up at such a speed, you don't know what they're going to do. Factor in a couple more HPDs that you're racing, you don't know what they're going to do in relation to trying to pass those guys up ahead of you. So not only do you have GTs you're trying to pass, even an HPD that may or may not slow down. He might go for the pass, he might not. If he goes for the pass and you're backing off, you're going to lose a ton of time. If he doesn't go for the pass and you're expecting him to, you could wipe him out, you could wipe the GTs out, and be careful. And you might seem that seems kind of reckless, but the other downside to that too is because everyone's racing, you might lose up to 10 seconds a lap if you play it too cautious. And it's kind of hard to figure that out.
Beautiful pass there by Brent Briles, as Brian was making that point through as he was passing on the outside of Lance Snyder. They made their way through Bridge, so that was well done. That moves him up into the 9th position, rather, as we go to the battle for the top spots in GT3.
Yeah, Bridge, if I recall, now it's been a little while, but full throttle with the HPD, right?
Oh yes! Wow.
How did he save that?
I think that's Verness doing. That's kind of a signature move in that corner. I think a couple seasons back he did that on the first lap, and actually there was a bit of. And he's done that a couple times this lap, or this race rather, but managed to hold on every time. So good car control.
Yeah, John Kelly's consistently been over on the grass at the exit of club there. You can do that because there's pavement out there, but you can see Brent Bryles had a better run through club, and now he's all over John Kelly like a really cheap suit.
Kelly running a bit wide there through Brooklands. Bryles moves up and closes the door. I think he's going to. Well, maybe he wasn't able to quite get that pass done. Still holding on to that 8th position just barely, but we'll have to see if the outboard. Yeah, there it is. So he did manage to finish the pass on John Kelly.
Brent Bryles is cutting his way through this field like a hot knife through butter on a warm day. Lance Snyder looking through. This is the Beckett's Chapel complex here. He's into the chapel section, coming around through. We'll see if he's able to keep. It's really hard to. You can kind of gain time at the beginning of that, but if you do it a little too hard, you're going to find yourself offline, and then you're going to start progressively losing time as you're offline for the next couple corners. So you really got to kind of play it. You really want to try to keep close to the car in front of you, but at the same time, you want to make sure your line is optimal and get the best possible exit coming into the final chapel complex there. And Todd Carver back ahead of Daniel Burness, but nothing separating them really.
And Jeremy Burris, I don't think we've really seen him much so far in this race. He's got
season for that matter.
Yeah, he's got Brian Carey just in front of him. These guys are actually fighting for the last of the podium positions in HPD. Oh, snap oversteer there for John Kelly as he made his way through Priory. I think Lance Snyder might have a go at him now. He's going to be on the outside though for Luffield, so I don't think he's going to make that pass, but it was a good attempt. And I think Kelly might be struggling with his tires just a bit because I've seen him make a few similar mistakes. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Also, looks like Tim McLeish right on the back of... I spoke a little too soon there. Tim McLeish is still close to Lance Snyder. So they're continuing their usual battles that they seem to always have in the races. That's a fight for 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Now this is the corner here. Right here is where the new F1 track joins the old F1 track. So that's actually an interesting braking zone. You'll see actually a lot of incidents in the real race there. And also the start-finish line too is kind of in the on the exit of Club, which is reprofiled, and down that straightaway down towards Abbey, which is Abbey now on the new track goes to the right, where in this is the 2009 version of Silverstone that was scanned for iRacing. It goes to the left.
I can't wait for that new version.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, actually, that the new version really changes this sector that they're going through right now, because you have that really long club straight that leads into what is Brooklands, which they're going through right now. So it turns it into a much more, instead of like a slow corner that it is right now, it's much faster in the new updated Silverstone, which is what, as of 2012, I think.
10.
10
was the first race.
A nice three-way battle here going in LMP2. Lance Snyder sandwiched in the middle. Oh, that was so close there. Nearly ran into the back of John Kelly. I think he must have lost a lot of speed there on the green curbing. I guess he must have had to slow down to avoid spinning or something, but Lance Snyder nearly took him out. And so he's kind of put him a little offline, kind of broke his focus. But good three-way battle here between these HPD drivers.
And Tim McLeish actually got a pretty good run through there, but I think he's got a good enough run to get through Lance Snyder here.
Couple GT cars might work to their advantage. You can see John Kelly decided to go the correct way as the McLaren of, who is that? Stephen Clark, I believe, went over and let them go around the inside as they made their way through Vale. And it looks like Tim McLeish got the worst of that as he's fallen and gotten... Oh, I guess not too bad. He's not as far back as I thought. But Lance Snyder is still putting quite a bit of pressure on John Kelly.
These guys are really close to begin with, and then we throw some GTs in the mix, and it's going to get pretty interesting. Just like to point out during this broadcast, I am not drinking steam whistle because they refuse to give me anything. I am drinking some Sleeman's Clear, which is some light beer with only 80 calories per bottle, so that's a light, refreshing beverage.
Is it actually good? It sounds like it would taste bad from the name alone.
Tastes better than Coors Light. Definitely tastes better than Coors. And
I think
light,
everything tastes better than that.
That's a good point. But Daniel Burness is retaking the lead for the GTs as we're talking about gross light beer, and just still better than no beer, I guess. But we've got some backland snare coming around. Keith Horner, the McLaren GT car, and now resuming their HPD battle.
Sure, John Kelly will be happy. We don't often see him for all that long in a lot of the races, so he's getting a lot of screen time with that classic Porsche livery on his HPD. Ooh, he runs really wide there through Club. Does manage to stick ahead. Doesn't really lose any speed because of that.
That's his usual line.
Is it? That's a John Kelly line.
Yep.
You're not really gaining much there, John, just for future reference. Oh, Ryan Huff, I haven't seen him for a while. He's with Sam Dignan. These guys fighting for, 6th position. So Ryan Huff, after losing a bunch of positions there through turn 1 earlier on in the race, has moved up to 7th spot. And the HPDs are starting to get a little more sparse for him, so he's going to have to drive a little bit faster to get up to the next ones. But these guys still keeping it very tight. What is the difference between all of them? About 1 second. A little bit less than that, actually. So these guys very close together. As if I need to tell you that, because you can see it on the screen.
Hey, can you guys tell me how much time you have left on the clock?
1 hour, 6 minutes, and 49, 48, 47.
Yep, that's about what I've got.
39?
42,
Nope.
41, 40.
I'm with Anthony here, so I guess Dan's about 3 seconds in the future for us. So
Well, no, actually, my video paused, so I'm just trying to get myself back to where it should be. I'm at 106.32.
nope,
Yep.
27, 26, 25, 24, 23.
So I've got
passing
about
GTs.
2 seconds to adjust. Cool.
Random
Thank you.
counting for those viewers at home.
This video is we'll get our federal grant for being educational for all the kids. They'll learn
Brought
how
to
to
you by the
count.
number 7. The letter 8. Thanks to viewers like you. Whoa.
three.
Tell me when you hit 105.50, or when you're about to.
I'll count down for 5.
55, 54, 53, 52, 51, 50.
Perfect, I'm synced up. Thank you, guys.
Brought to you
Yeah.
by the count.
I am debating in my head whether we should do the rest of the commentary like that, but for now,
I kind of want to.
I know it's hard not to. Lance Snyder really getting a close look at the back of John Kelly there. Like I mentioned before, Daniel Burness was seeing if Todd Carver was a boy or girl by looking under his skirt, apparently. Not that Todd Carver wears a skirt, Todd, you do not. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say you don't, because then if he does, then I'd feel bad. But anyways, I apologize to Todd right now. Anyways, Daniel Burness without Todd Carver, who is elsewhere, pitted, perhaps.
Yep. Oh yeah, he is down in 9th, so he could very well have made a pit stop.
He could have made a pit stop, or maybe something else happened.
That could be.
We'll let Batman weigh in on that one later.
And Tim McLeish taking the John Kelly line, getting Vodafone some nice airtime as he runs over the logos. And jump up to the nose of Jeremy Burris. You can see he still has Brian Carey in his sights a bit further back from the last time that we were with Burris. But a little bit of GT traffic just up in front, and that gap is going to close shortly. But we'll jump back to the three-way battle here between Kelly, Snyder, and McLeish. And McLeish has a nice run there as they make their way into turn 1. Interested, I wish I knew if these guys were running different downforce packages, because like Brian said at the top of our as Lance Snyder really overshoots as he goes into Beckett. And he spins off going towards Chapel. Keeps it out of the wall, which is good. Yeah, that tarmac runoff there is very helpful, but he does fall away from that battle. Looks like he's almost has Jerry Morrisdorf pass him. I think he may have stuck in front of him. It looks like he is from the time of the scoring. Meanwhile, Jeremy Burris has caught right up onto the rear wing of Brian Carey. These guys still fighting for the last of the podium spots in LMP2, as it's so close as these guys make their way into Magnus.
Andy Fuller's up there too.
He is, yeah. Andy Fuller right up in front of Brian Carey now, which I'm not sure if he caught up in traffic or what, because he was a little bit further in front. You can see him just up there in his Batmobile. Actually, this is beneficial to Brian Carey because he's getting a little bit of draft off of his teammate Fuller, so that's going to help him stay a little bit faster down the straights and negate some of the draft that Burris has on him. Though, you see Burris is sticking right with his rear wing. Adult John Boldrin also quite close to this battle. He is only 1.3 seconds in front of Andy Fuller, so he's not really that much further up the road from those two guys we were watching battle. On board now with Stephen Clark, he has John Kuzland just up in front of him. Clark in 9th place at the moment, having a solid race.
Another native of London, Ontario, like yours truly. Known for, as in Canadian mayors' terms, have changed from being under indictment for some fraud to being the best mayor in the history of Canada. Those of you following any news know that the mayor of Toronto has a bit of a... he's had some issues. He's made Marion Barry look good, so Washington, D.C. is thanking us very much right now. Oh, Tim McLeish. Going by. Is he going to go by?
I don't know. He really pinched off his exit there. He could have afforded to take a lot more track as he exited club and would have had more speed going down that straight. But he gave Kelly a little bit too much room, I think, and I think he cost himself a position because of that. Meanwhile, Brian Carey has now right on the rear wing of his teammate Andy Fuller, and looks like Jeremy Burris also right behind. So this is a close three-way battle here for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th position, making their way through some of the top GT3 drivers. I think they're the top GT. Yeah, because that was Mike Young. We just passed in the black McLaren with the Red Bull sponsorship on there.
Yeah, it's one of those circumstances you can see from me in the middle there. If you're passing GT cars, a car right ahead of you, you're racing, got a car right behind you that you're racing, and then there's a GT car, and you're kind of going along for a ride in that train. I mean, you can't really slow up or run over the guy in front of you all that much, otherwise, well, then you'll crash. And then you have to worry with the GT car that if you run into, also bad. And more than likely, you will damage your car more than the GT car as well. So you really want to try to avoid that.
Get in the draft, Tim! Get in the draft!
He keeps pinching it off.
Yeah.
I don't like to see that in any circumstance in my life.
Okay, it's cooled down just a little bit there. Well, maybe. Of course, as soon as I say that, Brian Carey really on the back wing of Andy Fuller there, as I think he went past the GT3 leader Verness. So that helped to close the gap a little bit, but now you can see it's kind of equalizing itself now about, what are they? Half a second or so separating all three of those cars, so equalizing a little bit now. You can see Tim McLeish and John Kelly making their way, or trying to make their way through some GT traffic. Todd Carver there.
McLeish has really picked up his pace over the past, this season, really. I mean, doing a great job, and even though, I mean, he's shown intent here, he's doing a good job of being competitive with folks who he was typically pretty far behind in the past.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed it a lot in the practices, too, especially in the practices before the race. Because I mean, during the races, unfortunately, we kind of separated ourselves on the track a little bit there. But there's been times in practices where I've been pushing like hell, and I can't shake Tim. I mean, there's possibly fuel load things in there as well. But at the same time, he has been really on pace this year. Like we're seeing from this here, the one thing, Tim, we might suggest is, well, he's doing it right now.
Yeah, he's doing it right this time. Good job.
Like he's listening to us in the past. He's like, get in the draft, put pressure on the guy in front of you. from the approach to what it looks like he's doing is, in an effort not to make a mistake, not to make any passes, he's trying to run his race. He's probably a little bit faster right now than John Kelly up ahead of him, which is why he's able to stick with him. But
yeah, he's definitely running better lines than John at the moment.
But I guess he's kind of like trying not to risk it by pushing it too hard. But the one thing is you want to, I mean, if you don't think you can make a clean pass, at the very least you want to try to put a little bit more pressure on the guy ahead of you to think that at any point you could make a pass, and then he starts missing more apexes and makes it easier for you, you know, in the future, hopefully in the near future, to make a pass. So.
Yeah, now he has jumped up to 9th. That's because Lance Snyder has hit the pits. This is an Enduro, and the gas tanks on these cars are such that it's going to be a 2 pit stop race for each of them. And
Kelly
so,
also in.
There you go. Kelly has several cars into the pits as we've got 2 minutes off the clock into this race.
This is actually an opportunity for McLeish to jump John Kelly in the pit lane because it did seem like he was a little bit faster, but he wasn't really taking any risks to try and make a move on Kelly. So now that he's out in some relatively clean air, so it looks like Brian Carey going to be passing Fuller in the pit lane. Yes, he is. As Tim McLeish is now out in some relatively clean air. As I was saying, he should be able to... Oh, there's Fuller. He should be able to possibly jump John Kelly in the pit lane if he's able to do some good laps.
No. Fuller.
I was actually disappointed Andy got passed over in favor of Ben Affleck for the next movie there. I think he would have made a better Batman.
Oh, that's Boldrin off. He was the LMP2 leader.
Oh, and there's Todd Carver there, damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And Burris, you could see he didn't know what was going on.
That's why you're glad this is a sim, because I'm pretty sure Burris's face would have come off. That was a hard hit.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that was... Wow. Yeah, that was a pretty crazy impact there. Luckily, yeah, like Brian said, luckily it was... a sim race and not an actual race. That reminded me quite a bit of the Alan McNish crash that he recently had at Le Mans. Luckily, he came out of it okay, so I would hope if this was real, if and Burris was actually driving, he would come out of it okay, but never know.
Yeah, well, he had some more runoff space there to slow down. McNish
also, he hit it backwards and camera people. And
no, he hit it front. Or he did hit it backwards.
Yes. Very happy. It was not McNish, it was Davidson the year after in the Peugeot that coming down towards...
No, it was a Toyota.
Was it Toyota? You know what, I keep saying Peugeot just because they the paint schemes of that Toyota went
they're basically
blue
the
and
same.
Peugeot
no, actually the same too, aren't they?
Just about. They pretty much drafted the old team, and so it's pretty much the same.
Is it the same guys basically?
Most of them, yeah. I think there might be one or two differences, but quite a few of those guys got on the Toyota team.
Whatever, I'm going all for Porsche next year.
But I was also going to say that in cases like those, if it's real life, it's actually better, as much as it sucks, to hit the car ahead of you than to ram yourself into the wall. So if you're training your reactions for situations like that, train yourself to hit that car, because the delta between you and the car ahead of you and the amount of mass it has is going to be a lot better impact against that car than it is against that wall.
Yeah, there's that, but I'm wondering, I'm sure they're factored in for that, but it just seems like such a low profile nose for that LMP that if you got the rake underneath the higher rake on that Ford, these are open cockpit, you just get a whole bunch of tailpipe right in the face, so that would not be ideal.
Yeah, I think because this is an older car, the way that the cars... Well, and 2014 regs mandate that I believe all LMP2 cars have to be closed cockpit anyway, so that kind of goes away because of the safety issue that we've been seeing with some of these crashes in Le Mans as late. But yeah, it is kind of weird. On the HPDs, they have those legality panels in the back that cover the rear wheels, and the reason that they have those is to try and help cars from doing, like what Brian said, sliding under a car in front if they were to make a head-on impact.
Yeah, I think it was actually back in...
Oh my god, that was close. What a pass there by Lance Snyder.
And like I said, the challenges of doing that, occasionally, while scary sometimes, produce some awesome moments, and that was pretty fantastic. I am pretty sure John Kuzlin in the Ford GT was thinking,
I don't even think he knew what
happened. What the hell happened there? John Kelly was probably thinking, what the hell happened? And...
Well, you know, Lance
Snyder.
He generally tries to play it reasonably safe. And
yeah, no.
he wasn't trying to pass there. He just was trying not to wreck.
And that's what I was saying, too, is because you have to judge. It's like, not only are you trying to pass the Ford GT, you're racing with the other HPDs, and in a situation like that, he's not expecting John Kelly to slow down there. John Kelly slows down to be cautious. Lance Snyder's at a full rate of speed. Once he's made that decision, John Kelly has, and Lance Snyder's made the decision to follow him through, that was all he could have done. Or actually, you know what? Actually, all he could have done, because it was the exact same place that Jeremy Burris went off, and that was option number 3, and luckily option number 2 worked out for Lance Snyder there. Actually, option number 4 would have all 3 of them to have soiled themselves and then spun off on their own feces.
Yeah,
that's not likely to happen. And I apologize for that graphic description.
You seem to like to go into that one quite a bit.
It's a good metaphor. I like using it.
And Boldrin working his way. He was back up to 3rd, working his way through some GT traffic after that spin he had at coming out of Stowe. Brian Carey up in 1st place at the moment. Andy Fuller in 2nd. At this point, Brian, I'm assuming you've taken a pit stop because you're in front of Andy, but only by 2.5 seconds. So
yes, actually, what happened, and I'll try to recap because it was all off camera. Because why show that? Andy Fuller. There was a previous incident with Todd Carver where we saw he was off before. This is before the before the Dolce Boulder incident. So Andy took a little bit of damage at top speed, so I was able. That's why I was keeping with them. Where we saw Jeremy Burris have his accident there, that was just after contact with Dolgen Boldrin. I think Dolgen Boldrin, we didn't see it on camera, had gone off the track, but we did see that.
Yeah, briefly. We weren't focusing on him, but we did see it. Yeah, in the background.
Yeah, we did see that. So that's what happened there. I was able to run a few laps faster than Andy because I was a little bit quicker, and this is where we end up right now. 3 places. But yeah, no, and I. My fecal humor, if you will, descriptions, I just remember back, I think it was like 95 or 96 when Damon Hill was running with Williams. He was describing what it's like going through the swimming pool complex, and this is before the modern swimming pool where they've knocked down the walls and just put like kind of a chicane around there. It was like you full on through the walls. The apex was the corner of the wall. It was blind and it was super fast, and basically he described that corner as a massive bottom clencher. So basically my reference is anytime that things go wrong, the clenching mechanism stops and stuff happens. And I'll keep talking not to let that metaphor hang, and we're on board in the Batmobile with Andy Fuller, who's running in 2nd place. Lauren Bateman up ahead. He's going to catch it before bridge. Quick shot to the... Oh, jeez. Oh, my God, camera cuts. It was a series of camera cuts that made that very dizzy, but yeah, so it was a good pass going into bridge there. Just see the speed difference between those 2 cars.
And Fuller has made up a bit of time on Brian Carey now. He's about 1.5 seconds back, so it's about a 1 second improvement since the last time I mentioned. You can see Brian is working his way through some GT traffic, which Fuller will have to do as well. Looks like Vernas just up in front of him, which he gets through at the exit of turn 1. Vernas has made a pit stop, so he is no longer leading his class at the moment. He's down in 3rd place. Mike Young is the current leader.
And considering Mike Young had that super slow spin earlier on, that's I mean, even with pit stops shaking out, it's a good place for him to be right now, and there's still just over half the race left. 45 minutes will be the halfway mark, and Mike Young and Chuck Chambliss in good positions right now, but Chuck Chambliss about to be in a slightly less advantageous position if Daniel Burness has his way. And not to pick on Daniel Burness because that's not. I just thought it was we'd run a fun race at Bathurst on the ISRA off week in the V8s, and coming in behind Daniel during practice, I'm pretty sure I followed him behind a lap where he hit every wall on both sides for an entire lap and was able to keep going. It was kind of it was fun to watch, but not something sustainable for a whole race. Speaking of sustainable.
So yes, exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, Chambliss doing a nice job keeping it on the outside, though, as they make their way to left field. And they'll have to see what kind of run they can get off the corner, because Burness is able to keep it on the outside, and does manage to pull ahead.
Yeah, that was some great side-by-side by the two of them. We got nice and close. Good job, guys. Now they're running the different cars here. Let's see if either one has an advantage. It looks actually like Chambliss had to slow up a little bit for Burness.
Yeah, it's like the McLaren and the Ford, the dynamic is McLaren had to have some weight added onto it, which, as we've touched at the beginning of the year, it's a McLaren is already, balanced and powered out a ton of horsepower to make it equivalent with these cars, so there's always that, but they add a bunch of weight to it too, and it kind of makes the handling not bad, but weird. And the advantages between the two cars, the McLaren, I believe, still has an advantage in a straight line over the Ford GT, but and certain types of corners. Just it's a really interesting dynamic. Overall, their lap times are pretty similar, but as you can see, Daniel Burness was able to keep it around the outside and keep his speed up, where Chuck was fighting really hard, but wasn't quite able to match that.
We'll see Doljan Boldrin here running in third place. He had Andy Fuller about 1.5 seconds up in front of him. You can see the Batmobile up in the distance. If this was a night race, that would be much more stealthy, but during the day here at Silverstone, can't really pick it out quite easily. But Brian Carey managed to get a nice gap over Andy Fuller. He's pulled out almost 4 seconds, so that's if you remember, Andy Fuller had dropped it down to about 1.4, 1.5 just a few laps ago, so Carey doing a nice job right now. Boldrin getting held up behind Mike Young there through Stowe. Well, these guys have really separated themselves from the rest of the field. The podium place cars right now, about 34 seconds in front of fourth place Ryan Hoff, who has actually done a great job to get himself back up to fourth after having that massive spin here at the exit of turn 1. So he's battled his way all the way back up to fourth, probably about as high as he can get, but he's done a nice job to get himself up as far as he has.
Well, yes, that is a 32-second gap. That one's going to be hard to overcome.
And follow Marty Jeffries around, a couple different shots of his car. He is running currently in 5th position. GT3 standings are a bit jumbled at the moment. We have guys on different pit strategies. Mike Young still leading. He's actually just jumped into the pits right now. So while he's in his pit box, Burness will be taking the lead back, or at least he should be, based on the gaps.
Lance Snyder jumping into frame, and around Marty. Yeah, like we talked about before. We talked a lot of the previous seasons. I mean, it's not something we've gone over a lot recently. But I just like to shout out to the quality of the paint schemes here. The original, Marty Jeffries right there is responsible for quite a lot of these. He's done a very good job on some of them. Anthony, over the last couple of seasons, has really drastically improved his painting skill to the point where he's also now responsible for probably more cars than Marty right now. And then obviously Chuck Chambliss does a few as well. I think I don't know who's responsible. This is an ISRA team car with Mike.
This paint scheme was done by Matthew Nethercoach. I believe that's his name. He's an Aussie. He does a lot of V8 supercar liveries. If you've checked out on the iRacing forums, also does a lot of nice metallic type highlight layers for and gives those out for free for people that want to incorporate them into their own liveries. But yeah, he's done this one, and last year when you saw, I believe there was a blue version of this and a silver version that Daniel Gralti ran. He's also responsible for those two as well.
Oh, nice battle in the mirror there. You can see Tim McLeish coming around Javier Torres, and he'll be right there. He goes, look at that, like a rocket ship around the outside of Club. Like I say, that making Vale a lot faster really makes Club a totally different corner. In the regular configuration, there's a chicane there, and as you're powering out a Club, it's a real traction corner because you're turning and powering out a second gear. It's so hard to keep the rear end underneath you. But now the speed's increased. It's such a downforce corner. So basically what you do in the HPD is you go through the Vale part of that, drag the brake as you're going through, trying to keep as tight at apex as possible. And that's where those guys, not to say they're doing it wrong, but it's definitely faster if you can hold the inside there and stay on the track, because you can carry a lot more speed on the outside or the inside. The outside, you can carry a lot of speed, but you're running so much further around, you're probably dropping 0.2 of a second.
And as those two GT cars battle, you can see Brian Carey, the LMP2 leader, making his way through. Doesn't really have any impact on these two guys. Mike Young, I did point out he was in the pits. He exited in. Ooh, Andy Fuller nearly going into the back of Marty Jeffries there as he went through maggots. Luckily avoided any contact. Mike Young comes out in third place, which is behind Danny Verness and Lauren Bateman in first and second place respectively. And here's Boldrin making his way through that same traffic. He has about 3.5 seconds to Andy Fuller. So those guys started to get a little bit separated now. Brian Carey 4 seconds in front of Fuller, who is about 4.5 seconds in front of Boldrin. So the LMP guys now starting to kind of get themselves spread out a little bit more, and into a bit more of a traditional, I guess you could call it, endurance style race, where you kind of start playing the long game instead of it being more of a sprint. Well, some of these GT guys are staying a little bit closer though. We're watching Todd Carver. Currently, he has worked his way back up to 6th position. He has Sean Cuthbertson just behind. Again, some of these GT3 standings are a bit jumbled because of different fuel strategies, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, the HPD is relatively straightforward as far as the fuel strategies go. The window's not super big, but I mean, the longer the race goes, obviously it's going to be a little bit bigger. But I mean, you should start seeing. I'm trying to think of how far we can go on the amount of. We have 42 kilograms, which is 70% of what a normal HPD tank is, and on a full tank, I know we can go roughly 53 minutes. So, hold on a second. I'm going to use math.
Don't you mean that's 30%?
What?
Oh no, I'm used to thinking in pounds. 120 or so pounds.
Yeah. Yep, kilograms.
Okay, so we're looking at about 36.5 minutes. Is about as far as we can go on a tank. And that's the max. That's on the outer edge there. So
yeah.
Call it 35 minutes. Start looking for final HPD pit stops. But that'd be pushing it a little bit. Most of the time, you want to get down to minimize your pit stop time. You're going to be looking at roughly. .26 minutes left would be a typical final pit stop.
Yeah, HPD definitely more straightforward. I know that the GT3 class does have some fuel cell size restriction. I'm
Just
not
for
sure.
the McLaren.
Is it just for the McLaren?
Yeah, 100% for the Ford, I believe, 70% for the McLaren.
Yeah, I think that is a restriction that carried over from the previous 2 seasons of the McLaren. And it seemed to work out relatively well the previous couple of seasons, because with the full tank that the Fords could run, they generally had about a 5-second pit stop advantage, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Alright, it's been a while since I had one of these, but random thought for the race is I need a haircut really badly, and I'm ready to just take my head into a garbage disposal if I had one and get it chopped off.
You got kids? Give them scissors.
Yeah. My wife's actually a hairstylist. Here's the thing, though, and this is where it comes apart. And let me know what you think about this. A couple of my good friends, Jen and Gord, are getting married in March, and we're having a stag and doe party. For those of you not familiar with the stag and doe, buck and doe, whatever the hell they call it. Basically, it's just a party you have before. It's kind of like a fundraising party. So you sell tickets, you have games. I mean, it's kind of, it's a fundraiser. But we're doing it this year because we're a big fan of the 80s and the music and whatnot. As Todd Carver, some of these cars coming up here. We're a big fan of the 80s, so what we decided to do, the people working it are going to be dressed as their favorite 80s characters from a TV show. And I'd like to point out here, too, on the track here, the reason that Keith... who is behind him? Is it Keith?
Sean Cuthbertson.
Oh, Cuthbertson, right. I keep forgetting Sean Cuthberson's back, so welcome back, Sean. He hasn't been with us for a little bit while. I keep forgetting that's who that is. Anyways, so Todd Carver's a little bit damaged, so that's why Sean's able to catch him up so much, where Daniel Burness is way up in the lead there. Anyways, I was going to go with someone from Back to the Future. Be it Marty, Doc Brown, Old Biff, Young Biff.
It's not a TV show.
Or movie. Or just 80s thing.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that well. I just heard TV show.
For instance, we're having, as just props, we're going to have big mock-up Rubik's Cubes, and the background to one of the walls will be Pac-Man. Just for instance. Point is, I couldn't find a proper character. It needed to be Doc Brown. I needed the hair. I didn't have the hair for Doc Brown. To be Marty, I needed to have one of those red vests. I couldn't do that. Although I couldn't do it, it's just not. I couldn't find one. But what I do have is ability to have a mustache. I don't have the hair. I just need to find a tiger's hat and short shorts and, well, ideally a Ferrari. But I will be going as Magnum. Sadly, I don't think the Ferrari's going to happen. But good news, folks.
Rent one for a day.
The short shorts will be there. So for those of you who have me on Facebook that are following along, tune in, because you're about to see some grotesque pictures of me wearing inappropriate shorts.
And if you really are good at scouring the internets, you can find Brian in similar style clothing in a video on YouTube.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. That's still out there. No, actually, in that was just tight shorts. There's a difference. And in that video, too, just for those at home, you want to search... I don't even know what you'd search for. I think it was Go Fox Yourself, like kind of spelled like Guy Fawkes, but that's not what it's about. But anyways, which is weird. You had a whole bunch of other videos, but you know what? Don't search that one. That's not. No, Dan's probably going to link it on this page, this video, but. Anyways, now we're back. Here's Murray Jeffries chasing down Javier Torres in the. They're pretty awesome. It's like a jalapeno. Red Bull. It looks like the kind of Toro Rosso. It just looks like it's on fire. I don't know why I went with jalapeno, but for some reason I just think of hot peppers when I see that car. Is that wrong?
Yeah, I can see that. Either that or the burning the flames of hell.
Yeah, that's the theme that Lance should have in his car, because his car is powered by, fueled by, and otherwise demonically possessed by Satan.
hence the number 666 on the sides, or the number plates.
Ironically, that's just a coincidence. The other part's just inherent evilness, I guess. Marty, on the other hand, who I believe still resides in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, I think. He'll correct me if that. I know he's moved recently. I can't remember if he just moved to Dartmouth.
Is that an MTV logo on the side of this car?
MTV?
Yeah, it probably isn't, but it looked like it from that quick view that I had.
Does MTV still exist?
Yeah,
it does.
they have no music on, but
Yeah, it's
got lots of
garbage,
shows.
but it's on there. Yeah, it still exists.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was off topic. It was just surprised me if that was what was on there.
An off-topic surprise was a pass. Marty Jeffries, Javier Torres.
Yeah, Torres switching liveries from the start of the season. I believe he started out with the blue-themed camouflage that's still a Red Bull livery and all of that. Now he's gone with the fire red, whatever you want to call it, Hellfire flames.
All I can think about is that MTV logo now. Well, there's Tim McLeish and me coming past at high rates of speed.
Yeah, Brian Carey's still leading, so he's putting the lap on McLeish. I can see Andy Fuller just in the back there. The Batmobile still out running in second place. And there's Boldron. He's trying to catch that Batmobile. Having a difficult time right now. Although it looks like Fuller has run out of rocket boosters on his car, so you can see he's right up on the back now.
Now, the thing with this here is Arthur Hermont, who ran a very similar paint scheme to Dolgen, is not in this race, so every time we see this car, we know it's Dolgen and not Arthur.
Yeah.
Which is very
that
helpful.
was close. Close call there for Waldron as he made his way past those two GT cars. Nearly got into the back of Javier Torres, but managed to avoid. Boom, Boldrin's going to lose some time there. I believe that was Mike Young that he wasn't able to get past as they went into Maggots and Beckett's. And Fuller was, so that should help him get a bit more gap to Boldrin.
yeah, from about half a second back, 3 seconds back. Nope, 3.2.
All right, as we're coming up in 31 minutes left, we're going to start looking for HPD pit stops, and pit stops of all sorts. The GTs will be harder to figure out. As I say that, you just have to excuse me for 1 minute because...
Oh
no! Oh,
wow.
He just got... All right, well, the Dr. Palacio award is now Dr. Torres, and sorry, Javier, but you have now been christened the... no, I can't say all that.
Well, it looks like it was a reasonably soft hit. And
Yeah, no,
it's apparent there on
that's-
Jeffrey's car, even though it got lifted up into the air.
That's just because he's a gentleman. Sorry. Anyways, I don't have your. I just if you hadn't followed our broadcast before, if you're listening to this right now, I'm not trying to make this as a big deal. It goes back to the our colleague Julio Palacio, who we haven't seen for a little while on the series, getting a little too familiar with another driver's rear end, and then making reference to a Seinfeld episode where Kramer had a license plate that said "Ass Man," Dr. Cosmo Kramer, proctologist, that whole bit there. If you're familiar with that, it's hilarious. If not, then I apologize.
Hey, what a great segue to this article I read about a guy in New Mexico who got stopped for running a stop sign, and the police officer thought that the guy had been clenching when he got out of his car. I guess the officer had him out of his car, and so he took him to custody, and 12 hours later the guy had been forced to get x-rays and a colonoscopy and then some more x-rays. So watch out for New Mexico. No, because he thought he had drugs. He was not smuggling drugs.
At least they went with the x-ray, not the... Yeah,
No, they start with the x-ray, but then they went for the colonoscopy after
they
that.
did. Colonoscopy, you said it. Yep.
X-ray or whatever doesn't work or whatever. It's just like, I don't believe what I'm seeing here, so let me go in primarily. Like, do you really need to do that? No, we just like to be sure. Also, this is just damn fun. I like rubber gloves. New Mexico. Crazy.
I'm pretty sure no one here in this series is from New Mexico, so we can say that without upsetting anyone.
If you are, you boys are crazy, because that ain't right. Anyways, I'm going to go grab a beer quickly to finish off the remaining 28 minutes and 50 seconds of this race. I will be immediately right back, and hopefully don't miss anything interesting, but probably everything will happen as soon as I'm gone for 1 minute.
Ha, it was Brian. When Brian gets back, we'll have to talking about the dancing he's doing while he's recording this.
Yes, it sounded like he was
playing with a mic board or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something. Yeah, I had an image of a little kid who needed to use the restroom and was trying to stay here and talk with us.
Yes.
Well, meanwhile, while Brian is going to most likely relieve his bladder and then fill it up again with cheap beer, watching Todd Carver here in 9th place. He is fighting damage, but he is about a second back from John Koosland. You can see his Ford GT just up in front. And that is a fight for position. Ooh, someone's been off there at Brooklands, I believe. It was either Brooklands or Priory. And I don't see any cars slowly getting back on track, so I'm not sure where they've gone.
Todd Carver on the screen, so that's...
Hey Brian, do you have a mic cord down a 10-grit around something?
Maybe. Getting weird noises?
Yeah. You have to go back and listen to the broadcast. We'll give you a hint. It's around 30 minutes or so. And Anthony describes a nice image of you.
Oh, just now?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yep, as soon as you left.
Okay, I think that was around, was it like 28:30 on the clock, so...
Yeah.
Yep, something like that. Oh, a couple HPD pit stops there. Andy Fuller is out. Brent Browse is in. So Brian Carey still leading the race. Boldrin has yet to make his pit stop. So, well, Carey and Boldrin have yet to make their pit stop. So they are well ahead of Fuller, who has dropped down to third. Browse in the pits, like I said. Sam Dignan yet to make his pit stop. So he's past Brent Browse. And looks like we have... Well, Jerry Morrisdorf is labeled in the pits, but he is 2 laps down, so I'm not sure if he's still running or not. Oh, yep, he is, because that's him exiting the pits, so he is still running. Nice battle here between Koosland and Carver. Koosland running wide through Brooklands. I think Todd Carver will get the pass. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
And now he's racing with Lance Snyder.
Now, is my mic okay now, or was it just
Yep,
when I left?
it's fine now.
Okay.
So despite that damage, Todd Carver moving his way up into what is currently 7th, past John Koosland. I believe that is a true fight. There's no pit stops or anything involved in that.
And it looks like Carver is widening that gap just a little bit on Koosland as we continue to watch. And cut away now to Brent Briles. Briles is right now in 6th behind Ryan Huff in 5th.
I'm going to jump back to Chuck Chilms. We've seen him a few times so far in this race. He has Javier Torres. You can see his car just up in front, fighting for the top 5 position.
Sounds like I had a hint of traction control coming out of left field there. For our iRacing, McLaren, Chuck Chambliss conspiracy theories.
Well, this car is supposed to have traction control. Actually, the HPD is also supposed to have traction control, though it isn't modeled by iRacing. Actually, I think all of the GT cars are supposed to have some sort of traction control. Well, the Corvette GT1, the Ford GT was GT2 at that time, and the McLaren GT3.
Something traction control. I mean, it was all right, I guess, in the day, like when I was going to have-fun races in early 2000, 2001, 2002 in Indianapolis. We go out to turn 11, I guess, which would be the tightest right-hander before you went onto the oval part. And you could really hear the cars just kind of just right at the edge of their limit, kind of the engines cutting out and doing whatever. Where it was really cool though is when you had a full field of, I think at the time it was 22 cars revving up. They could rev up to like 18, 19,000 RPM, get on the start line, and just because they had launch control, all of them just floored the throttles right to the limits of their engine and just hit a button and it all launched off. It was a pretty I do appreciate a good start from everyone, but at the same time that just sounded so awesome.
Yeah, they don't really have that anymore. Now what you hear is the half of the cylinders cutting out when they go into a corner, which isn't quite the same.
No. Or, and if you're at the start too, what you would hear is 23 of the 24 cars getting a good start, and then you would hear Mark Webber's car.
You mean 21 of 22?
Oh, right, because they don't have the HRT anymore, so you're agree about that.
Yeah.
Anyways, point is, you hear all but one car, roaring up the line, the other one sounding like an old Volkswagen trying to, get choked out and started.
1950s Beetle.
Yeah, or like the old the Hyundai, the ponies back in the 80s where you actually had to use a choke to get them going.
Yeah.
I remember trying to drive, this is when I lived in Edmonton, one of my friends there, she had a pony from like 1986, and we were just at my buddy's place downtown, and we were trying to drive back, but it was a standard, which at the time, the only standard I'd ever driven was in a Formula 2000 car, so getting off the line in the snow wasn't exactly a natural proposition for me. It's surprisingly different between a racing car and a road car, but she didn't have her contacts in, so she couldn't see, but then it was also the choke, so basically I do my best to get it going and drive the thing, which I figured out after about 5 minutes of driving. But in order for it to get going, she had to operate the choke. So it was quite the tandem driving effort in like minus 25 weather and just snow like piled 3 feet high at the side of the roads.
That sounds like fun.
It was kind of fun. Wasn't a fan of Hyundais after that, but it was kind of fun. Yeah, I didn't actually properly learn how to drive a stick shift like in a road car until about 2002 when I got my Honda Civic.
For shame.
I learned it in a racing car. Leave me alone. Most racing cars are geared such that when you come from a standing start, I mean, it's the same principle, but basically you rev the engine up a lot more, and the way you let the clutch out is a lot different. The throws are shorter, and everything just feels differently. So, I'm driving a Honda Civic, which you learn now, and what I'm learning is, or when I learned was, you basically at idle can ease the clutch out, and the car will start rolling forward, which is kind of foreign to me for something that I was used to driving that didn't have any of that, flywheels or whatever. And, you rev it up, you take off, and you go, and you make your short shifts, and going between gears is a little different. It's all natural to me now, obviously, but it was just it was an interesting way to go about things.
Just to point out that Brian Carey has made his pit stop and is now over 7.5 seconds in front of Boldrin. So he
Also
is
a bit of Andy Fuller,
safer.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
For
Fuller
Andy.
has dropped down to about 12 seconds back from Boldrin. So no longer a three-way battle there at the top. I'm not exactly sure what happened to Andy. He must have had an incident with traffic or something.
Well, what happened, I know he made an earlier pit stop, but I know that's because of team radio that we can hear now and relate now. Is due to, unfortunately, the contact with Todd Carver. He had damage there, so he decided to pit at the early end of his early part of his pit window there for the first stint. So what had happened was he had dropped back a little bit, but he was on fresher tires before us, so he was able to maintain his speed a little bit. But Dolgen and I were able to go a little bit longer. He had to make his last pit stop earlier, so he's on older tires and had to take more fuel in his final pit stop. So probably like a 5 to 7 second deficit on his last pit stop due to the extra fuel.
And Brian once again playing with his mic cable.
So what's happening? Am I cutting out or what's going on? I'm trying to think of what I'm doing.
I don't know, we just hear a lot of noise. It sounds like you're like either moving the mic or moving the mic cable.
I think I'm probably moving the mic. I don't know. I might have had a beer in my hand at the time. I apologize. I'm going to try to keep still with my hand while I'm getting my mic now. I know earlier this season I had switched microphones. I'd gone to a headset microphone and not really paying attention because I don't like listening to myself talk at the best of times. I don't typically watch the broadcast after I do them. But I was bored one day and I was testing out my media box and I threw myself up on the TV. It's like, all right, well, we'll watch one of our commentaries. That'll be cool. And I don't know. I sounded like I was... I guess I always breathe in after I'm done talking because I expel air and obviously I'm a human, so I need to suck it back in. But because I didn't have a filter on it, it sounded like at the end of every sentence I was taking a huge, like, breath. And I had no idea, and apparently I had been doing that for quite some time. And Javier Torres had suddenly turned right there in front of Chuck Chambliss, so hopefully he didn't hit the wall, but that's going to move Chuck Chambliss up to 5th position.
Brent Burrell's having a nice race here with Ryan Huff. Huff, of course, has had a great recovery race after falling down to probably about 13th position or so early on in the race. After what I assume, getting on too much of the curbing there on the outside of turn 1, spinning, losing quite a lot of positions. So good to see that he's managed to get himself all the way back up to 4th, and Brent Burrell's having a solid race here as well, running 5th and putting pressure on Huff here in the final minutes of the race.
Looks like we're going to be following Brent for upwards of 9 minutes here, so sit back and enjoy it, folks. The Brent Bryles fan club is getting their money's worth right now as Brent chasing down Ryan Huff.
And at the beginning of that 9 minutes, he is, well, 0.7 seconds behind, so let's see how he does here.
Now, that's the beauty of our cyborg director. He's going to, he's basically gone for a smoke break, essentially. He's like, all right, we're going with this guy here, so I'll be back before the end of the race, maybe.
Well, you can't really blame him. Dolgen Boldrin is currently 4.5 seconds behind Brian Carey, and that looks like the next closest battle on the track. 4.5 seconds, not really too interesting to watch, so this is the place to be. Brent Bryles now 0.5 seconds behind.
Except he's the perfect distance behind and he's covered by rise for a wing. You just get a little closer, farther behind. We can see him a little bit better, but it's a stealth approach. Stay right in that blind spot there. He won't know you're coming. Except I'm pretty sure he knows he's there right now because he is. I don't know, is saying on him like wet on rice, is that cool nowadays? Oh, racial connotations for that.
I have no idea.
No, now you have to say like multi-grain on rice or something like that.
That sounds so much worse, though, for some reason. I might start saying that, though. Not in everyday conversation, because that's weird, but... Anyways, I hope we can go on board here for some of this. I mean, it's good to see from the outside, but I'd really like to follow Brent around for a lap. At least a lap, kind of go through the course from an on-board perspective. The director's going to do what he wants to do, and he has his reasons, that's for sure, but put some more on-board shots, that'd be good, especially in a situation where we know we're going to have a battle for a period of time.
Daniel Verness in the pits, and Mike Young, who is in second place, was about 33 seconds back when he entered in the pit, well, when we got the notification he entered the pit lane. So that's I'm not sure if he just has to do a real quick fuel, or if this is actually going to put the battle for the lead of GT3 very close together. We'll just have to wait and see.
The weird thing is, I'm looking at it, the gap's not changing.
Now
there it goes.
And it looks like he does. Verness does exit out as the leader of the GT3 class. Gap is much, much smaller now. About 3.8. Oh, Ryan Huff goes around. Oh, nearly goes around. Does save it there. Nice job.
Nice.
Does lose that spot to Brent Briles, though. 4 seconds is the gap between Verness and Mike Young, by the way, just so everyone does know what that is. I bet Ryan Huff is just killing himself after that mistake. Didn't cost him nearly as much as it did the first time it happened early on in this race, but with just about 12 minutes left to go, it's not a mistake you want to be making. And both of these guys seem to be similar paced. Brent Briles was closing at times, but Ryan Huff was able to keep him behind. Oh, that was an ill-advised move. I think trying to make up time there on Brent Briles.
That was his teammate, too.
Yeah, causes contact with Sean Cuthbertson. Cuthbertson not really in any trouble or danger of losing positions. He's running in 8th, and I think he is the final car in GT3 running. But yeah, I'm sure some sort of damage came from that.
That may have looked worse than it was just because of the closing. I mean, there is, like I said, we've talked about netcode before, so
yeah, that's true.
It may have just been, it seemed like he turned in more than he actually did. And the side of Ryan Huff's car doesn't look too bad. It's okay. So if the Ryan Huff's car is not damaged, then Sean Cuthbertson should be alright. Although he is in the pits right now. Not the welcome back Sean was hoping for the ISRA.
But with the traffic here, Ryan Huff has been able to close the gap back up to Brent Briles. So it does seem like he was able to get away with that incident with his teammate relatively unscathed. You can see his car is a little bit beat up compared to Briles' car. Even the end plates on his rear wing are completely straight, which doesn't happen all that often to a lot of cars. It's pretty easy to get the little bend in there.
Car racing does have a funny damage model, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but that is how you know how you have never come close to hitting another car, if you have those straight end plates on your rear wing.
Alright, so we're going to be following Ryan for another couple minutes here.
And it looks like you might get your onboard time, Brian.
Yep, as he comes through Stowe, we're going to head down the thing. This is Vale. This is where the chicane, tight chicane normally is. Look how fast as he enters through here. This makes Club the neck. Oh, God. All right. I'll talk about that later, I guess.
And
there's corners that go through them. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, Vale and Club. In the redesign here at Silverstone, they are similar, but it's actually been reprofiled just a little bit to kind of change up the way Club is. Yeah, as you exit Stowe, you can basically kind of continue that curvature that corner has, and that shoots you into the plane, which actually goes down beneath the level of the racing circuit. So you're kind of underground a little bit compared to the racing track. And then Club Corner is a little bit different compared to this version. So
yeah, this one is kind of an opening corner where they've taken Club and made it more of a it's still a faster corner, but it's more of a 90-degree corner now.
Yeah, it's kind of the turn 9 part of it, I guess, doesn't really have a name. But like Brian said, it's a little bit more, they've squared it off, essentially, where you can get a faster run through Club onto the start-finish straight.
It's really weird how they take a track that's existing, keep 90% of the corners, but just completely change where the start-finish line is. That's a latest change. Oh no, Mike Young! Mike Young! Second place runner, Mike Young. No, wait, no, it's he's still.
He's still second, maybe.
Maybe. Where's the look for the? There it is. Wow. Now I know in an HBD race here, I think it was last year. Was it last year? No, the last time we ran HBDs, Mike Young got past me in similar circumstances later in the race, and I was not able to catch him. So I definitely know how that feels, and especially with Mike Young involved.
Yeah, just kind of going back to the redesign or update that they had here at Silverstone a couple of years ago, the new pit facilities and the suites and all of that they have there. The Silverstone Wing, I think is what the building is called, is quite an improvement over the pit facilities that they have here in this version.
Yeah, they've been talking about that for, I don't remember, as long as I've been following Formula One, and Bernie Ecclestone basically threatened to take away the race unless they improve their facilities, and they do little bits here and there, and then finally decided, it's like, you know what, screw Silverstone, we're going to do Donington, but apparently Donington didn't have anywhere near the money they said that they needed to redo the track, so Silverstone's like, we'll just build me some new pits, and I mean, Silverstone's pretty iconic, but the Silverstone we have today is, well, it's in the same footprint basically, and the corners are roughly in the same places, some of them. It is not kind of...
Right there is the Abbey corner.
Yeah,
just
and that's...
pointed that out.
Yeah, that Abbey they went through there is the original Abbey. This bridge here wasn't an original part here. This whole infield thing there, basically how the track used to go was they go straight through from Club, through Abbey, which is like it is there, and instead of turning right for bridge, go straight into Woodcote and start finish straight. So Woodcote used to be a really epic corner coming out of that start finish straight. I think in the late 70s, call it 75, 76, no, 75 I think. Yeah, around there. They put a temporary chicane in the entrance to Woodcote, then they changed it where a more permanent chicane on the entrance to Woodcote, and then they added this section where Diligent Bouldering's in right now, the Brooklands, the Priory Brooklands Luffield, as he's in right now, section.
Yep, and then if you know, the redesign now uses the Club... it's the Club Straight, which was part of the Club configuration here. I'm not sure if that's used anymore, or it might be different because of the redesign. But yeah, you go from Abbey through a right-hander, and then you have a fast left down to a couple slow right left-hand corners onto the Club Straight, and then it leads down to a Brooklands
drifting
again.
Master Burness out of the lead. Could this give Lauren Bateman a chance? Those pylons are not happy.
It's a 16-second deficit. I don't think it's going to do it. Nope.
No, and I think Burness is all right.
Oh, and Mike Young around again. He's not in danger of losing that final podium position, but has no chance of... Oh, no, wait, Bateman is in the pit, so he does have a chance of catching Bateman.
What is happening? It's crazy, the GT field right now.
Yeah, miscalculation on the pit strategy for Lauren Bateman. That's going to cost him second place. He should come out in third. Marty Jeffries is 41 seconds back from Mike Young. So yeah, he drops. You can see he drops there. But wow, that's crazy there. Chuck Chambliss, very slow there, exiting Club Corner. Loses a spot to Javier Torres. Not sure what his problem is, but he's still fairly slow. He might be out of fuel or saving fuel, trying to get around to the pit stops for a little bit of a splash.
Okay, that was coming out of the chapel section. We're going to go on board in the straightaway, but we're not, because here we are, outside of the car. And there's Mike Young, too, so the battle for fourth position between Ryan and Brent is still as fierce as ever. Well, maybe not quite as fierce, but it's still pretty fierce.
Dolphin Boldrin. Oh, he's actually closing the gap to Brian Carey. You can see him just up in front in the blue number 79. And Brian Carey's actually had a fairly comfortable race. This is one of the few times, once he's been out in front. Yeah, it was a nice shot up from the roll bar there of Brian's car. But yeah, he's been fairly comfortable out in front. Hasn't had much of a challenge. So here, just a few minutes left in the race. Boldrin closing up to about 1.5 seconds, and there's a GT car in front, so that means that Boldrin should be right on the back of, well, not quite as much. Brian did a better job of passing Lauren Bateman there than I thought he would, but another GT car of John Kuzlin just up in front, so not really helping Brian all that much. And looks like he should have 2 more laps to go after this one and 1 more. So there is a little bit of time for Boldrin to do something. I'm sure Brian wasn't happy there that Kuzland easily let Boldrin by. Basically slowed up for them there on the start-finish straight. And Brian a little offline there going through Maggett and Beckett. As you can see, Boldrin trying to catch and close the gap. Was a little wide there, exiting Beckett into Chapel. So speed on the straightaway not as high as he would like, but the gap now down to about 8/10 of a second. So let's see how this goes. By far the closest battle on the track right now.
And the battle for first to boot.
And he's got it down to about half a second now, even less than half a second. He's really closing that gap down. Of course, he is now in drafting range, so that is helping him close it down that much more so. I'd like to see if we can't get a little bit wider shot to see if there's any GT traffic here that is going to play a factor in this battle. Right now, you can see Brian now crossing the timing line and starting his final lap. So this is a pretty intense finish here for the LMP2 class. Looks to be relatively GT car free in front of him, so it might just be open track and comes down to pure driver pace. Boldrin, remember, starting on the pole here at Silverstone. Brian looks like he's quite off here through Maggots and Beckett's. Boldrin having a much tighter line going through Beckett's and onto Chapel. Ooh. Chuck Chambliss there. He's still out running, but very slow still. Not sure if he's trying to conserve fuel. It may have been better to go and get a bit of a splash, but he may have pulled up Carey just a little bit as they made their way down the long hanger straight. You can see 0.3 of a second now separating first and second here in the LMP2 class. Brian Carey going to try and hold on. Not that many passing opportunities left here in the final lap at Silverstone. About half a second now between these two guys, so he's going to... Boldrin's going to have to throw it in on the inside somewhere to try and get past Carey. Oh, he's going to try and look on the inside there, going through Bridge. Carey holding the faster outside line. Keeps ahead. Only a couple corners now that Boldrin has a chance to try and get a pass made. And it looks like Carey has this one in the bag. Yep, gets a nice run coming off of left field into Woodcote. And that should be the race as Brian Carey crosses in first position to take the win in LMP2. Boldrin just 1 second behind there at the end. And Daniel Verness crossing the start-finish line in first place for GT3.
Congratulations, Brian.
That was honestly very intense as Chuck Chen was finishing there. As you can see right there going into bridge. No idea he had low downforce on the car. Didn't seem to be catching. I knew he was catching up behind me. Got into that last straightaway coming out of Abbey, looked behind me. Saw there was a huge gap. I'm like, from my point of view anyway, it looked really close on this TV here. I'm like, alright, it's good. And as I turned into bridge, I got the car inside call, and well, you know what I almost did. I mean, I've talked about it during the race.
Andy Fuller finishing in third position. Nice job by Mike Young to be able to go ahead and finish in second in GT3 after a couple spins there late in the end. Lauren Bateman finishing in third after having to make a late pit stop. John Kelly finishing down in 10th position.
But getting to the end? Yeah, I gotta say, for my point of view, watching this race here, I gotta say Mike Young for the perseverance drive of the race there. He had a lot of incidents early when we lost a bunch of position. He was able to bring it home in fourth position, and wow, that was a close one there.
Yeah, close finish there between Marty Jeffries and Javier Torres. They were fighting for fourth position, and Marty Jeffries able to hold on to it.
Well, Brian Carey, speaking of holding on, holds on to the lead in the HPDs, with Andy Fuller falling back 5 points. Dolgen Boldrin's pretty far back there compared to him in third, then Ryan Huff, Arthur Hermant. We got Jeremy Burrows in sixth, Daniel Corney in seventh, Brent Briles in eighth, Tim McLeish in ninth, and we'll go on to GT3, where we've got Daniel Verness leading by a full races win over Lauren Bateman in second, and Daniel Gralty's 10 points down from that. Mike Young in fourth, though, just down one from Gralty. Then John Klusland in fifth, Jeffrey sixth, Tim Stoll seventh, Chuck Chambliss eighth, John Middleton ninth, and Matthew Voigt in 10th. All right, it's always nice when Enduro ends with a nice, fast-paced, exciting ending like that.
Yeah, like I say, that last lap was the most tense I've been in a sim race for quite some time, especially after this corner here. Well, speaking of this corner here, these guys are still racing, boys. Or are they? No, they're not. They're finished.
No, they're finished. They're just pretending.
All right, so we've got that was Silverstone. Next is Long Beach, and that is going to be a doozy. That's the test. So the broadcast is going to look a little weird, but it's there. Sebring, I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to see that broadcast because the tape got burned up. We've run that already. We know what date it is. Suzuka was next on the list. That'll be the following Monday, so that'll be next coming up. Phillip Island is the next Enduro race, and in between we have Lime Rock, Laguna, and our favorite at Road Atlanta.
Very excited to run Lime Rock. We've never done that before, so it should be crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be great. We're all going to die. Except for maybe me.
All right, well, thank you, as always, to Brian Carey and Anthony Muniz for the outstanding commentary, to ISRA League, its admins and racers, for making this all possible, for Z1 Simwheel's sponsorship of the series this many seasons long, and to you, our viewer. Have a good night.